Match number 10, Indominus Rex vs. Poseidon Rex, by Birdman. It had survived. Against all odds, it had emerged from the hell of its own creation. Despite the attempts of humans that created her, the Indominus Rex was free from the confines of Jurassic World. She was the deadliest predator on the planet, fitting of the title of Untamable King. Her crown was inaccurate, however. Because of her gender, the title of Queen would be more fitting her. But no prey would dare question her claim to the throne of prehistory. She was the supreme saurian, and thanks to the conditions of the island she was approaching, her power and savagery had been increased dramatically. The white behemoth treaded the salt water, effortlessly keeping herself afloat while maintaining a steady but rapid speed. Just kilometers away, the shores of Birth Island beckoned Indominus. The island hosted the perfect jungle habitat to make her kingdom, out of sight and reach of those who may seek her extermination. Unknown to the hybrid, the nature of her future home was the source of her enhanced condition. Birth Island contained many underground deposits of uranium. While normally secure under tons of soil and rock, erosion led to some of these pockets becoming exposed and allowed radiation to leak into the water supply. Rivers and streams dumped this contaminated water into the ocean, irradiating the waters for miles around Birth Island. Instead of killing the wildlife, it caused a significant size increase in all creatures that ventured into its waters, including Indominus. Once she was estimated to reach around an astounding 12 meters in height, larger than any specimen of Tyrannosaurus. Now she stood 70 meters tall and 87 meters in length, dwarfing any dinosaur recorded in history. The mosasaur that had tried to drag her to her doom was a minnow in comparison. The scars...
It's pronounced minnow.
Minnow? Oh, okay.
No, it's pronounced dildo.
And the scars from its teeth almost invisible on her titanic shape. She was unparalleled in her majesty. Pass.
But see, below the waves, in the darkest depths, another enlarged predator lurked in the gloom.
This really is 2018.
Like the Indominus, its gender behaved its title as King of the Ocean, and its reptilian shape was reminiscent of the white color. But origins lurked in the manipulation. The amphibious titan's roots were linked to the distant past, an offshoot of the mighty tyrant king that had abandoned their land and adapted to a life under the sea, evolving fins from the length of its head and down its miniature arms. Means as to how its ancient relics survived the extinction of its ancestors would baffle the paleontological community where to learn of its existence. The tyrant looked at the distant water's surface, spying the intruding predator's silhouette against the glaring sun. Across the seafloor, massive, pearl-shaped eggs surrounded the mother to be young inside. At time, the deep mistress could not tolerate another massive rival in the territory. With the goal to preserve her eggs and drive out the evil of Poseidon Rex ascended rapidly. Their first sign of danger came when Indominus detected a rising heat below her. As the side effects from her pit viper DNA, she was capable of seeing the heat signatures of other creatures. Although the cold Pacific waters altered the bloom's shape, Indominus could still determine the creature's resemblance to the titan that tried to enter with the claw-toed one's help. She instinctively knew that this was not the same creature from the park, as the site and location did not match. This information was not useful in defending the chimera from Poseidon as the oceanic tyrannosaur burst through the surface, ramming into Indominus' underside and launching the air. The Frankenstein of dinosaur animal genes cried out, thrashing wildly in shock. Poseidon honed in on the struggling predator, boxing forth and biting down on the high belly. Bones cracked and blood sprayed into the water as if in pain. In retaliation, her longer arms sank their talons into Poseidon's flank, tearing apart. Both predators twisted and flattened to inflict as much damage to the other as possible. The ocean was stained with two titans' lifeblood as Poseidon began to descend, dragging the Indominus under in an attempt to face the beast on her own turn. Before she could get very deep, a sharp pain engulfed the King released her grip and roared as Indominus slashed her claws down the life. But though distracted, the white saurian raced from the surface. Escape, Poseidon again to his feet as he slumped to his skull. The monster of Inch had continued her ascent as Poseidon, stumbled low, sank to the floor. The moment Indominus was gulping down air, she groaned as the effects of her injury set in. But she was determined to reach the sea. Even after a brief encounter, she knew the chances of winning this class and her aggressor's element. Pass.
What?
Pass.
Joe.
Joe, you're
Where are we?
the ocean
God.
around the snow-colored saurian.
Alright.
You read 4 paragraphs.
The ocean around the snow-colored saurian turned into a white froth as she rapidly paddled in the direction of dry land. Every second in the water was time that left her vulnerable to her enemy's next assault. Sure enough, as she neared the shore, the sound of Poseidon breaching the surface came from behind, and the dinosaur chimera looked to spot the prehistoric killer pursuing rapidly. Moving through the water with sweeps of her muscular, fin-lined tail. Within moments, however, Indominus' claws scraped against the gravel-lined shore, and the super predator scrambled out of the waves, as her oceanic contender reached the shore as well, dropping to a semi-quadrupedal stand. Indominus turned to meet Poseidon with a threatening cry, and roared. Her cry died down as the Tyrannosaurus stepped onto the beach, and her true size was realized. The Indominus had never encountered a predator larger than herself before, but the concept was not enough to deter the bloodlusting hybrid. Poseidon stepped forward, bellowing deeply and loudly, unintimidated by Indominus' defiance. Her jaw snapped at the carnosaur, missing the swifter carnivore as she ducked low. Indominus then swung her head up, smashing her skull into the quote-unquote king's lower jaw, staggering the kelp green titan. As Poseidon lurched back, Indominus lunged at her neck with her open jaws. At the last second, Poseidon pulled her head back, moving her throat out of the albino chimera's reach. Indominus' jaw snapped down on nothing but air, but her claws lashed out and caught the deep ruler across the chest, driving a snarl from her challenger's maw.
Oh, fuck. Being aw shit.
What the heck?
I honestly kind of be on flash.
I happened
I had a Vietnam flashback.
Okay.
Oh.
to have a Vietnam flashback.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Well, keep reading.
Gosh darn it.
Instinctively, Poseidon tucked her head low to protect the bleeding wound. But the action allowed Indominus to clamp her jaws around the Tyrannosaur's neck. Roaring loudly, Poseidon struggled to shake the hybrid off as her jaws grabbed onto the ancient predator's neck and back, further securing her rival as her teeth sunk deep into her flesh. The Queen of the Seas was rammed into the beach, pressed against the coarse gravel as Indominus' claws joined her claws on the tyrant's neck. Indominus began to turn her neck, slowly twisting Poseidon's own beyond limits. Her rival groaned as her vertebrae were violently twisted, cracking noises emanating from them. Before the colorless killer could snap the Tyrannosaur's neck, Poseidon swung out with her head at her captor. Her skull scored a loud, hard hit on Indominus's right leg, staggering Titan and forcing her off Poseidon's neck to keep her balance. With her freedom and advantage, Poseidon rose and charged, smashing her head into her opponent's chest. The strike sent the already unstable Indominus stumbling back, and a second hit brought the hybrid to the ground. Poseidon stood over the Saurian abomination, avoiding her flailing limbs as she pinned the foul intruder under her foot. Her jaws lunged at Indominus's unguarded throat, but were deterred by the albino's sharp claws slashing into her snout. She pulled back, blood dripping from her cuts as she quickly assessed the next move. Once more, Poseidon's head dipped towards Indominus's gullet, and the Chimera's clawed arm moved to defend the vulnerable area. Poseidon expected this, however. Her jaw snapped onto the white Carnosaur's right arm, instantly crushing the limb. Indominus screamed in agony, unable to control her frantic thrashing that served only to increase the white-hot pain. With a tear and a crunch, the mangled arm was torn from its shoulder, past.
Poseidon tossed the limb aside and moved to attack again, but when the horrible sting shot through her abdomen, she stepped back, roaring in shock and agony as Indominus retracted her blood-stained talons. The white king held on to her belly and pushed herself up, bolting for the jungle. Even on land, her rival had the advantage. Facing her out in the open, the tyrant's ideal territory was suicidal. To conquer the Tyrannosaurus kingdom, she would have to lure her into the battleground that suited her own strengths. The titanic hybrid disappeared into the thick vegetation, with the thundering footsteps and the bellowing cry of Poseidon echoing not far behind her as the Leviathan gave chase. Even in a wounded state, Indominus was able to outpace her pursuer. Left in the dust, Poseidon tried to keep an eye on the retreating Chimera, but the colorless beast somehow managed to vanish into the brush, as if by magic. The Carnosaur's scent was still strong, however, and the trail of destruction in her wake prompted Poseidon to continue the pursuit, driven by the overwhelming instinct to protect her brood. The trail led deeper into the jungle, farther and farther away from the ocean and her nest. As she neared the center of the island, the landscape began to change. The plants began to die. Trees became lifeless huts, and puddles of steaming, toxic water replaced the flowing rivers and clear ponds. Something was wrong with the island. As the brush cleared, the landscape ahead brought Poseidon to a stop. Ash and obsidian stretched to the peak of the tallest mountain. Rivers of lava broke apart the pitch-black ground. Pockets of gas smothered dead and dying animals. At the summit of the highest mountain, ugly black clouds bellowed from its heart as molten rock dripped down its slopes. Ahead of her, Poseidon could see the tracks of Indominus leading into the wasteland, but she was hesitant to follow. Land here was robbed of life. The air itself was clogged with the odor of fire and death. For an animal like her, capable of recognizing such a concept, the heart of Birth Island would be described as a cradle of malevolence. Cautiously, the oceanic saurian advanced in search of her quarry. The ground beneath her massive feet was almost burning hot as Poseidon crept further into the lifeless plain. The air was toxic and clogged with ash, and making the task of breathing difficult. The king of the sea trudged on, however, determined in her quest for her enemy's blood. At last, the trail ended amidst a field of ash-coated boulders. Indominus's footprints seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving no trace of the foreign predator's location. Poseidon sniffed the air, sweeping her head as she tried to pick up what little scent she could in the polluted atmosphere. As she continued her survey, one of the boulders to her left began to move. The rock straightened up and took a semi-quadrupedal stance as it stretched its limbs. Its dark gray coloring faded into pure white as Indominus shed her camouflage, lunging and sinking her teeth into Poseidon's legs. The tyrant shrieked in surprise as the bloodlusted Chimera's teeth ripped it through its flesh, muscle, and blood vessels with the ease of a butcher's knife. Shaking her leg furiously, she dislodged the Carnosaur at the cost of further damage. Unable to properly stand on the limb, Poseidon was rammed against a boulder by Indominus. The white creature snarled in the ancient royal's face before smashing it into the ash-carpeted earth. In the confusion, and with pure luck, Poseidon's tail caught Indominus' jaw, forcing the insane creature into temporary retreat. Poseidon pulled herself from the ash cloud. She limped away from the boulder in no specific direction. unable to clearly see through the ash-clogged vision. Stumbling through the maze, she tried to spot Indominus, but in her hindered state, she cannot differentiate between the boulders that circled her. Any one of them could be the predator waiting in ambush. The Tyrannosaur groaned as she shook her head, trying to dislodge the sharp clusters coating her sockets. One more?
No, pass.
Pass.
Oh, okay, it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
From her position, Indominus watched the tyrant thrash around in distress with twisted glee. To take out the predator would be such a simple task, but she could afford to wait. The sight of a creature so similar to the one that has challenged her, totally at her mercy, amused the psychotic false dinosaur. She could not enjoy the sight for long, though, as Poseidon's thrashing ceased in intensity. Indominus's snake-like eyes narrowed. She observed with interest as the ocean roamer seemed to survey the area, despite her inability to see. Her breath caught in her throat as Poseidon turned to face her, nostrils flaring and breathing loudly. The Sea King's gaze fell down to beneath Indominus, noticing something that ruined the pirate's camouflage. Without moving a muscle, Indominus peered down to investigate the flaw. Her orbs reflected the crimson liquid pooling around her, dripping from the stump of her arm. Excuse me. The giveaway was obvious now. It was common knowledge that rocks don't bleed. Obsidian tends to differ, apparently.
Wow.
Her
The more
enemies
you
crushing...
know.
Her enemy's crushing jaws closed on the nape of her neck as Indominus
If only we had Gray Shot, he would have told us why rocks don't bleed.
That
Yeah,
was
you'd give us a whole history lesson.
I mean,
That was tasteful.
with the mighty muscles in her Poseidon threw the Frankenstein creature around like a rag doll, even though Frankenstein isn't in this match, pressing it against the boulder and busting through the feature. Indominus rolled across the dead earth with a shower of rubble, pelted with small boulders and aching with the pain of bruised flesh and shaken bones. For one of the rare moments in her life, retreat was the only option to end this conflict. She clawed the ground as she rolled, pushing herself onto her legs and limping away. From the destruction behind her, Poseidon followed, moving as fast as her maimed leg would allow. Both predators moved further into the danger zone, towards the peak of the mountain and its flaming belly. Both predators realized their mistake as they climbed higher and higher. What little air was polluted with ash and toxins. The unbearable heat scorched the soles of their feet with every step. As Indominus trekked higher, the rocks beneath her shook and quaked with every step. Why would you walk closer to a volcano? When the earth cracked on the next step, releasing orange light to the surface and oozing slivers of magma, Indominus would go no further. She turned on the spot, cracking the earth further as she prepared to fight off her pursuer. Closing the distance, Poseidon released a powerful roar that seemed to shake the mountain itself. As she took the final steps towards Indominus, her titanic weight, combined with the albino saurians, became too much for the ground to take. The earth split asunder, and the mountains trembled violently. Both predators looked to the peak of the volcano as fire and brimstone spewed as high as the clouds. Across its surface, massive cracks released rushing, gushing magma onto the dying island. Amidst the chaos of the eruption, Poseidon and Indominus cried out in rage and terror at one another, unable to comprehend the madness around them. From the peak of the mountain, another cry echoed from its depths to answer the Saurians' calls. Pass.
Oh boy, jeez.
Alright. The two beasts' heads snapped to the top of the mountain as the fire sprayed into the air, seeming to set the sky itself ablaze. From the inferno, crackling bolts of molten power lashed out at the earth, eroding the thick volcanic rock with each strike. Someone left. The haunting sound came again, not a singular course of elephantine roars. The volcano's peak at last crumbled away, raining boulders and lava down its slopes. Emerging from the peak, a demonic draconic head celebrated its freedom. Either side, an identical head loomed, joining the center head in a vile symphony, of course. Shadow Thing looked down, glowing red eyes greeting the two creatures that had released it from its prison. Held no gratitude, only death and destruction. Sensing the demon's incomparable power, Poseidon made to run, but even in this chaotic bandit, Indominus would not settle for a truce. She bulldozed into the retreating dinosaur, stabbing her in the neck with her knife-like claws. Like its previous defeat at Jurassic World, the Chimera's damaged mind proved to be her downfall. The two tripped over a protruding section of rock. Both monsters fell down, the mountain snapping and wrestling with each other as they ignored the increasing orange-red glow. Only Poseidon saw the danger, but it was still too late. The carnivores rolled into the burning lava. Molten rock splashed over their hides and flooded their screaming mouths. Both titans, strong and savage in regard, had brought themselves to their own demise. Their scorching carcasses melted into the lava, leaving only a disgusting sludge on its surface, and the stench of overcooked meat as the evidence for their existence. Birth Island rapidly succumbed to the infernal geysers of lava, or geysers of lava, burst from under the soil. Rivers, lakes, even the ocean itself boiled from the intense heat. Rain of dust carpeted the landscape in a gray haze before the plant life could be taken by the fires that raged across the island. They just as rapidly withered into shriveled husk. Above the island, the hellish dragon flew over consuming the life essence of the island's vegetation. Its cruel eyes flickered with pleasure as it drained the land of life. After centuries of imprisonment, it relished first meal in the millennium. The black demon cast its eyes to the horizon. The bounty of life to be harvested to quell its insatiable hunger. In their quest for dominance, two mighty creatures had stumbled upon an ancient tomb and released a power long removed from the earth until it were unaware of existence and prepared for its malice. Winner, no one. Literally no one won this.
Yeah, literally, in a way, no one won this.
It was a tie!
Right. It's a tie.
Whoa,
I don't
tie
mind, though I will admit, looking back on it, it's like, I kind of wish that the kill was a little more direct. I mean, it's still no different than, say, it's just simply exterior thing happens to the point where they kind of die at the same time. So it's like, it makes sense. I still consider that a draw on the whole.
It's really hard. I think it's really hard to actually write a draw where both of the combatants manage to take each other out at the same time.
Right. That's fair. And I think in that sense, an outside influence is sort of needed from a narrative perspective, at least. So,
Winner, whoever that was.
Yeah, whatever that was, yeah. I will say...
Winner, Manila.
Manila, yeah, of course, because the elephantine roars of cacophonous destruction was in Manila, of course.
That was Super Burning Manila. Getting his
Super
revenge.
Burning Manila finally came back.
That would make the match enjoyable.
I'll say, I actually don't mind, this is actually a decent, this is just part of the more simple, two monsters fight, but at the very least, I feel like it was kind of set up better. It wasn't just like, oh, suddenly they start fighting. It's just like, no, Indominus is going to Birth Island to find territory. Poseidon kind of takes
Did it say how she escaped the giant water dinosaur from the ending of the movie?
Not really.
Actually, it's not a dinosaur.
We know she escaped, but we don't really know how.
Yeah. It's just more or less, different continuity kind of thing, where it's like, okay, this is clearly universal.
Actually, we might know it when Jurassic World 2 comes out.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah,
wait, is it coming back for Jurassic World 2?
No, but I hope it does.
Okay.
I actually really like it.
Ugh.
But yeah, this is overall, I'd still say this is still a very solidly made match with two interesting tooth and claw kaiju. I think this is overall a solid match with some solid motivation, just solid motivation on both their parts. Nothing that would be like, oh, revolutionary, but, it still works within the world of the match. And actually, I kind of like the little bits of the decayed territory and whatnot, and all the very small build up to Desghidorah's awakening at the end. I think that was actually a really interesting build up to that climax. It's like, yeah, Desghidorah, no, winner Desghidorah.
Spoilers.
But yeah, I kind of like the way this ended in a strange way. It just seems strangely fitting, if you ask me. Or
Yeah.
at the very least, it's something a little different. So, yeah, I kind of like. I kind of like this match on a whole. Like, I kind of like it. It's a decent fight. It lasts for a nice bit of time. Yeah, I can't really see myself trimming this one too much. I think everything goes nicely. So,
Congratulations, Birdman! You didn't break any of the rules. Yay!
not unlike Harley. Oh. All right, Joe, do you have anything to say about the match?
Well, this is match 90, but enjoyable.
Oh. Ooh.
Ow, that's a burn right there.
Ow.
I don't remember which one was match 90.
Godzillasaurus versus Gorosaurus.
Oh, that
Yeah.
one. I don't remember that one too much.
I'd be surprised if anyone remembered that one.
I think, didn't they fall off a cliff or something?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they
that's the only thing I remember.
They fell off.
I think
the
falling
cliff,
into
and
lava was a lot better
That's how it
than
ended.
falling off a cliff.
I remember it was short, and the names Godzillasaurus and Gorosaurus were used so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But not as much as the word Orga.
Yeah.
No, I think it was more than Orga.
Orga,
There was
Orga,
even,
Orga,
like-
Orga, 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 Orga.
Well, before Harley starts mixing up franchises, Harley, what'd you think of the match?
I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't know what Poseidon Rex was going in, but after I did some digging, I'm like, I thought that was a very unique kaiju to bring into to use, and I really liked how it was a tooth and claw fight for the beginning, and then you get like this tone shift as Poseidon is going into more of like the death world area. Like the more it goes towards the center of the island, the more like almost apocalyptic it feels, and the tone is just suddenly it shifts to that sort of apocalyptic, hopeless feel, and I really like that.
Mhm.
And I thought the ending was really cool. I came out of nowhere, and I liked that. You swerved me good, Birdman. Agoda?
Okay,
Goater.
so I think this match was pretty fun with how you use the abilities of the monsters.
Nagoda says this
And-
match sucks.
One line I really liked was...
Nagoda says, I'm gonna frame Birdman for all my murders.
Doesn't he
and
have his
plaster
own
this match all over their bodies.
Don't worry, it's common knowledge that rocks don't bleed.
That was such a good
that was
line. I laughed
that
so
was
hard
the
when I read that the first
best-
time.
That was the best line in any KWCE so far.
It's common knowledge that rocks don't bleed.
Wow.
Unless you've seen Daimajin, then that's another story. But
Does Daimajin bleed? Wait, Daimajin bleeds? Really?
Yeah. I watched the movie the other day for the first time. Yeah, there's a point where they're stabbing the statue and it bleeds. It's freaking wicked.
Oh, I was gonna say, what the hell does it bleed? More rocks?
So, Birdman, was that a reference to that?
No, it bleeds pebbles.
I'm just simply making parallels to rocks don't bleed, then you haven't seen what I seen kind of thing. But still,
Harley, it bleeds pebbles.
bleeds pebbles. That's great.
Please,
Continue.
Pebble.
So, who's next?
Alex.
Well, something happened.
Something.
I'm honestly gonna have to be in the minority on this. I don't remember anything except for the rocks bleeding.
Same here, don't worry.
It really feels like we're going back to match 1, 1, and 2.
I don't think it's match 1 and 2, but I feel it's more like.
I mean, if you guys like it, that's fine. But I just don't care for these type of matches. It's just monster A and B going at it. And I know Indominus has kind of a motive, and that's something I could appreciate to some degree. It's just
Well,
not
Poseidon
fully
kinda has
realized.
motive.
So what you're saying is, it wasn't better than mine.
Mine was a lot better, to be honest.
Yeah.
In your face, bird man. Just kidding.
Because, well, here's the thing. 9 actually has stuff that pulls me into a story, characters, kind of like a plot besides Monster A fighting Monster B.
Yeah. There's actually no offense, Birdman, but there's more of a more concrete reason.
There's more at stake with number 9.
Yeah, there's more at stake. There's more at stake, and I would argue there's more. I'm trying to figure out how to put this out because there's more at stake, and I feel like there's a more concrete and reason why everyone's there and fighting, and there's a really good reason as opposed to the more basic analysis. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not as compelling. There's more compelling reasons.
And with this, it's just your generic, oh, it's 2 dinosaurs fighting for land. Haven't seen that before. That's just me, though. I mean, again, if you guys like it, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to get pissed off or anything. I just, again, find this really generic. And I kind of don't remember what happened. Even after, 5 minutes, we read this.
I do think you could have utilized Indominus' camouflage a little better. Maybe have a guerrilla jungle fight before we get into the molten lava. How about? It feels like you could have made the build up towards the death world a little slower, so you can have some jungle fighting. And actually show off, Indominus' camouflage power.
To be fair, the film underutilized her camouflage powers too, so...
Yeah.
I see you being accurate to the movie, then.
Well, if it's accurate to the movie, then where's Chris Pratt? I want my Chris Pratt.
He'll be in the sequel.
Know me.
Also, another thing that kind of, I guess, baffles me is, did the Indominus Rex have healing abilities? Or, anything that could heal real fast?
No.
Accuracy is important except when it's not. That is a fair point.
But here's the thing. How the hell is the Indominus Rex able to swim all the way after she's been probably mauled near to death by that giant water dinosaur?
Well, that's assuming... That was, like I said, it clearly acknowledges the mosasaur, but I think that's the point where, in terms of continuity, it breaks from the original material. Maybe the mosasaur tried to get her, but she was able to evade it.
It helps that the Mosasaurus doesn't... We don't really see what happens to her after the Mosasaurus grabs her. And I think we do know she has cuttlefish DNA, I think.
I think that was scrapped? I can't remember.
Really?
No,
Okay.
I think they said that in the movie.
Okay, if she is able to scrap by after the Mosasaurs,
I'm
couldn't
pretty
she
sure
still
it was
be
said
the
in the
king of
movie.
the dinosaur island that they were on for Jurassic World? I mean, she was clearly beating both the blue Velociraptor and the T-Rex. Surely she could just knock them down when they're separated.
All right.
So why would she leave an island that she practically already owns? None of the other dinosaurs would.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
And that's because she's still in fighting condition in this match. Why leave the island when no one could defeat you on their own?
I guess.
Seriously, she could go back to kill both the old T-Rex and the Blue Raptor by themselves since they separated at the end.
Right.
She doesn't know that, though. She doesn't know that.
Well, it's been implied that she's really damn intelligent in this movie. Clearly, she could have thought of that. Go, I almost left the island for some dumb reason. I could just be the king here.
Yeah, I feel like there should. I do agree with you. There should have been a compelling.
Yeah, a much
I
greater...
feel like there could have been a more compelling.
Yeah, why is he does stupid because script.
Because the plot demands it. Because accuracy is important.
Because she's a dumb...
Because story
because
is
she's a
important,
dumb
except
animal.
when it's not.
Because even though Jurassic World was okay, it's incoherent at times.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
So,
I still enjoyed it though. So.
Oh yeah, it's still an enjoyable film. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it could be
Fun-
because it was in the script. Otherwise, she would have done it
Yeah, she totally would have done it. Yeah, you're not even
Because-
wrong.
Because they were running really, really fast, and they can't kill kids in a Jurassic Park movie.
Well, apparently that's actually a good point, Joe.
No, wait, didn't the little girl at the beginning of Lost World died from the Seal of Spices or whatever?
Yeah.
No, they said she was just hurt.
Oh.
I do know that I do know that apparently you can hike.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wait,
in
what?
the novel,
What the hell is a compile?
I'd like to point out,
You meant-
Bergman,
I think you
that
meant
the novel is a lot darker.
Oh yeah.
I've read the novel before, but I don't remember that. Maybe I
Compy
need to
killed
read it
babies.
again.
Oh, okay. Compies killed Bill. Like the dinosaur, the compies.
Yeah, like I
can't-
said, this match doesn't really do a whole lot for me when you really try to dig into the motive, the background,
Mhm.
and just the overall memorability.
Mm.
I mean, it's fine if you're just a person like... It's kind of like what I say about like Titanos matches. It's fine if you're just want to see two monsters fight. Cool. It's passable. But beyond that, it doesn't really do anything.
No, there's nothing
Memorable for me.
There's nothing special about it, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that really makes it outstanding or special. in some form.
Again, so far, match 4, 8, and 9 have been those special matches. Those are the ones that blew it out of the water. Because they went above and beyond. Like, those were actually exciting. Not saying some of the other ones were bad. They were just okay.
Right. They just.
But-
They weren't
They-
bad, but compared
Yeah,
to some
the other
of the
ones
others,
just kind of
they
like
weren't.
meet the KWCE credentials and, good to go.
Yeah, matches 1, 2, and this one aren't that good, to be honest. At least from my perspective.
I feel like matches 1 and 2 might not be as, especially number 2.
Compared to the rest, I think the first couple of matches are never.
Okay, that seems fair.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I assume the sequel is not.
Yeah, if there's a sequel, I mean, you do you. Do whatever you want, man. Like Rayshot said, not everyone's gonna like your stuff, but that shouldn't stop you from doing your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with all that said, let's see. Grandpa, do you have anything to add on to that, or anything else to say? Outside of the random media pictures being posted in the Discord chat?
Cut the fuck out, Joe.
Okay, I guess.
Oh, Birdman left.
Alright.
I guess not.
Alright.
He usually tends to leave when we talk about his matches when we get done.
He's like, all right. He's like, all right. You're done talking. I can.
Yeah, I guess that's everyone's thought. So, with that said, this has been match number 10, and we will see you guys next time for match number 11. Till then, folks.
Bye.